Hi, I'm Ekta Markulier, Executive Director of the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center.
And I'm Jonathan Liebert, CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado. And welcome to Business Week 2020. Thanks for joining us this week, and thank you to our presenting sponsor again this year, U.S. Bank.
So this week we've gone virtual, and we kicked it off with the License to Eat, a food truck guide. So you can eat great food throughout this entire week as we celebrate small business.
And you'll also hear from subject matter experts in the region talking to you about some of the things your business should consider in these strange and trying times. You'll learn about what you should be doing from a marketing perspective. You'll hear about how you can take care of yourself and your employees, as well as we'll take you behind the scenes on some new businesses that are opening up, like 3 East Comedy Club and our very own Olympic and Paralympic Museum.
As your leading small business organizations, the Better Business Bureau and the Pikes Peak SBDC will be bringing you the award celebration at the end of this week, where we'll be awarding the top 5 businesses in the areas of Small Business Champion of the Year, Small Business Person of the Year, Veteran-Owned Small Business of the Year, Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and Family-Owned Small Business of the Year.
We've got some great finalists this year. You're not going to want to miss it. And thank you to everybody for supporting small businesses in your Pikes Peak region.
This is Small Business Week 2020, Resilience, Recovery, and Results.
Welcome to Small Business Week 2020. I'm Jim Harris, U.S. Bank's Community Bank President and Commercial Team Leader for Colorado and Southeast Wyoming. Our friends at the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center and Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado co-host Pikes Peak Region Small Business Week, which remains the largest Small Business Week celebration in the state of Colorado and one of the largest in the nation. U.S. Bank has been the presenting sponsor for Small Business Week for nearly a decade, and we're pleased to return again this year. We know this has been a tough year for so many of our small businesses, which is why we partnered with our fellow sponsors to make this year's event free. Small businesses are the backbone of our community, and we want you to know we're here to help. We encourage you to join us for office hours with your bankers this week to learn more about how we and other banks are partnering with the Small Business Administration to help businesses. Now we invite you to enjoy the free daily workshops, License to Eat food truck guide, and award celebration, all supporting and honoring the best of small businesses in Southern Colorado.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the biggest small business celebration in town. My name is Yemi Mobalade, and I'm proud to serve our city as a Small Business Development Administrator. Whether you're an existing business trying to expand, or you're a new entrepreneur trying to open up a small business, my work exists to serve you, the small business community, and to serve as your internal point of contact, and think of me as an internal champion for you to help you navigate your development process successfully. We have a wonderful team working to support the small business community of Colorado Springs, and this team is called Colorado Springs for Small Business Advancement, also known as COSBA. COSBA is a collective of several city and county agencies, key economic development partners, business support organizations, and entrepreneurs working actively to ease the process of you starting a small business in this region. You see, our big, hairy, audacious goal is to make Colorado Springs the most small business-friendly city in the U.S. We're continually working on products to make it easier for you to open up your business. And one of these products is called cosopenforbiz.com. This is a step-by-step online guide to assist entrepreneurs from the great idea to the grand opening. In this tool, you'll find your key point of contact, helpful resources, and a playbook or roadmap to open up your business. And we are working on more industry-specific roadmap. And thanks to the Chamber and EDC for their co-leadership in making this effort a reality. Beyond this tool, The entire team at the city's Economic Development Division is happy to assist you with your small business, with your development needs. Led by my supervisor, Bob Cope, and my fantastic colleagues, Sherry Hoffman and Chelsea Gaylord, we will help to resolve any regulatory issues that you may have, expedite your permit approval process as needed, and support your opportunity zone inquiries, and assist in exploring tax incentives in expanding your business. The novel coronavirus outbreak has impacted every life in this region and has even had a more devastating impact on the small businesses of our region. Many small businesses are hanging on for dear life, and you see, while the future is uncertain, what is certain and encouraging has been the community's response. From the consumers who have supported their favorite small businesses through takeout, gift cards, liquor purchases, and staff virtual tips, to the partnerships that have been created to offer incredible relief services in the form of grant and low-interest funding, to philanthropists and to citizens who have donated funding to small businesses and have stepped up as friends and mentors to small business owners. So for every relief and recovery effort this community has shown to the small business community, and on behalf of the entire small business community in the Pikes Peak region, I want to say thank you. Thank you for caring for this community's lifeblood.
We've all pushed to innovate and overcome by adding markets and transitioning to curbside and delivery. During these uncertain times, we've depended on your support to keep our community working when we need it the most. And for that,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As the Small Business Administrator for the City of Colorado Springs, I just want to say thank you. Small businesses needed you in the midst of this crisis, and you answered the call and you delivered. So on behalf of the city, the mayor's office, and the entire small business community in Colorado Springs, thank you.
this has impacted all of our families in one way or another. So from our family to yours.
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 De nuestra familia a la tuya.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. However, we're not in the clear yet. The future is uncertain for many small business owners, and some businesses may not even survive the colder months. But with your continued support to our small business community, we will not only survive, but thrive through this crisis. You see, it's a joy to speak from the new state-of-the-art United States Olympic Paralympic Museum, and I can't wait for you to see how awesome this place is in person. The significance of this place is immense for our community, especially in light of the COVID pandemic. The stories of athletes told in this place is truly inspiring. Stories of courage, determination, hard work, and grit to push one's ability beyond which one thought was possible, and sometimes in the face of grave obstacles. The most important thing in the Olympic and Paralympic spirit is not the triumph, but the struggle. That same courage, determination, hard work, and grit marks the journey of many small business owners in this community. Olympic athletes, you see, and small business owners have this in common. The struggle is real for small business owners, especially in COVID time. Some of the stories that are seen and heard in this place serve as a beacon of hope for every entrepreneur and small business owner in Colorado Springs. And finally, the significance of this place in partnership and friendship with the Olympic City USA brand and the 4 City for Champions venues will improve the quality of life for Colorado Springs residents and add more energy and excitement to our region while enhancing the economic vitality of our region. And as such, we expect to see a more diverse economy. We expect to see more jobs. We expect to see more visitors visiting this region, and a revitalized downtown, new retail opportunities, and potentially $140 million in increased retail sales every year. This has been one of Mayor Souther's 4 strategic priorities, that is to promote job creation by attracting a diverse economic base to the Olympic City USA brand with an emphasis on small business and the startup community. Now, a quick word from Mayor Southers.
Small Business Week in Olympic City, USA would not be complete without a look at our impressive new U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum. It will be the ultimate representation of the Olympic and Paralympic values, which include excellence and inspiration. Our city is the proud home and training ground for thousands of elite athletes. We're also the headquarters of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. This world-class facility will anchor redevelopment of Southwest downtown, which includes new hotels, restaurants, new downtown stadium, and arena. As residents and visitors soon begin to enjoy this new local treasure, I know they'll want to explore the rest of our great city, making Colorado Springs an even better place to live, work, and play. Thank you all for attending Small Business Week, and enjoy your day.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ekta Markulier, Executive Director of the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center. Welcome to Small Business Week 2020 in the Pikes Peak region. We're so excited to come to you virtually this year, educating and celebrating small businesses with workshops and our Small Business Awards celebration this Friday. We can't do what we do without our sponsors, so thank you to our presenting sponsor, U.S. Bank, our corporate sponsors, Kaiser Permanente, and the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC. Our media sponsors for the week, the Colorado Springs Business Journal and KRDO News Channel 13. Also, our deepest thanks to the City of Colorado Springs for sponsoring today's event. Yemi, thank you so much for your words this morning and the videos that were produced to talk about the Olympic Museum and Paralympic Museum. Those are amazing videos. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. Next up on the Small Business Week list of events, tomorrow is a big day. We have 2 events tomorrow. We'll kick it off with our workshop sponsor, Kaiser Permanente, and partners 1 Million Cups and Catalyst Campus with a live stream, again, a very big live stream from 3E's Comedy Club at 9 a.m. Stress and burnout is a topic with a bit of comedy in store for us. Then at 1 p.m., we'll be hosting an event with our presenting sponsor, U.S. Bank, for office hours with a banker. Come ready with your questions. We'll be talking about the PPP, Main Street Loan, and other SBA initiatives. If you haven't signed up yet, please sign up. Go to http://bit.ly/PPSBW. You can find us by Googling Small Business Week in the Pikes Peak region or going to pikespeaksbdc.org. Now I'm really excited to send our live stream over to Jonathan Liebert on site at the new Olympic Museum and Paralympic Museum. Jonathan, here's to you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here, and we are broadcasting live from the Olympic Museum. So we're excited to be here today, and it's a hive of activity over here as the museum gets closer and closer to completion. But you're going to hear more about that here in a little bit. We are here for day 2 of Small Business Week, and what a phenomenal week it's been so far. And we're so excited to be here as part of the Olympic Museum, and we're proud to be here in this phenomenal building. The Olympic rings remain one of the world's most widely recognized symbol, and as this new iconic museum opens here in Colorado Springs, the power of the Olympic brand will attract more business, tourists, and young talent, and will enhance a sports ecosystem that will help our economy to rebuild. Today, you're going to hear from key museum staff and leaders from our city that will give you a look behind the scenes of this new museum and learn about the economic impact that this one-of-a-kind building and universal brand will have on our local economy. After our speakers, we will get to go inside the 3rd most anticipated building in 2020 and give you the opportunity to see some of the amazing artifacts that are housed here before the museum is open to the public. Before we get on the tour, however, let me introduce our panel today. With me here are Chris Liddell, the CEO of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Museum, and Doug Price, President and CEO of Visit Colorado Springs. Chris and Doug, I'm going to hand it over to you for an overview of the museum and a discussion on how it will impact travel and tourism in our region.
Thank you, John. Chris, I know behind these masks, we're small.
Yes, we are.
We're finally here. We've done enough of these in different locations, but we're finally inside the museum. So let me say congratulations for opening this small business this week.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all the support from the city and from you especially. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris, and it's coming at an important time. As a small business yourself, running a small business, how many employees will you have here working at the museum?
You know, it's an interesting question that you bring that up because we've done some very unique aspects with this operation. We've embraced some of the new leadership and management of businesses, one being really a networked organization. So up until a few months ago, we were able to count the number of employees we had on staff on 2 hands, but now we're up close to 100. We've been able to ramp up. We've been able to provide opportunity for the community. We have a number of full-time staff. We have about a little bit more in terms of the number of part-time staff that will be helping us out. And those part-time staff also include athletes who are in training, and so they have an opportunity to come not only and be hopeful for the coming up games, but also to be a part of telling the story and really be an authentic voice here within the museum. And finally, we've got some really strong partners that rather than trying to do it our own, we worked with local businesses and some national companies to really help broaden our ability to take care of the community, from security, from the way in which we want to do our food and retail with those that have local sensibilities. And then those who also have helped run museums around the country are also part of the team that help us sort of manage how to be not just a community museum, but a national museum.
I too am responsible for a small business here in the region, Visit Colorado Springs. We have a full-time staff of 19 people, and we are supported by over 30 volunteers who work at our visitor center just around the corner. And when you take a step back and look at the industry as a whole, tourism employs almost 20,000 people in this region. And yet, as the theme of this week is talking about from a resiliency and recovery standpoint, we've had over 11,000 people in the tourism industry have to file for unemployment claims. So we've been devastated. And so the opening of this museum is coming at a time when we need it desperately. One of the things that we've been fortunate to enjoy here in the Springs is you just look out here and all the things there are to do in the outdoors are fantastic. But the importance of the Olympic and Paralympic Museum to our economy and to our destination is we're going to have a year-round, weatherproof, world-class attraction. And Chris, I guess I'd like to ask your thoughts on what do you believe this museum means to our community? Because I know you're passionate about that.
I do have a lot of strong views on what this museum to the community, but it's really sort of a reciprocal view because it's been about, for the last several years, what the community has meant to the museum. And I've been involved with a number of museums in my past, but the way in which the community of Colorado Springs and in the state of Colorado have rallied around this wonderful facility, our ability to hit our goals with our capital budget, our ability to really create working capital for us to really create an experience that everyone will enjoy, has really come from the support of the local community. You often hear me say why we're an Olympic museum. We're also a community museum. Mm-hmm. And we had wonderful partners across from the Space Foundation who allowed us to use their warehouses for the last couple of years to build out our exhibits, to working with the Fine Arts Center and the Pioneer Museum in terms of sort of planning out how we can sort of be an integral part of the cultural institutions within this community. It's been really great. So it's our chance to give back. And so in the first area has really been in employment. We've been very fortunate to be able to hire a lot of individuals from the local area, and so we're really pleased from that. But there are jobs that go in terms of technology and the facility. We even have hospitality with guest services. We've also felt it was very important in terms of getting the community. We've sort of become a sponsor along with the City for Champions initiative that really spawned the Young Champion Ambassadors. Mm-hmm. And we were proud this year that for the 50 high schools in the Pike Peaks region that we were able to come up with 100 ambassadors in that program to sort of represent the youth of the community. And they have volunteered and been part of the museum from the reunion that we did for the all-class Olympians back in Paralympians in November of last year to being actively involved. And we're really proud for next year's class. We've had, roughly 800 applicants. And I remember in the first couple of years, there was maybe a dozen schools and a dozen ambassadors. So mm-hmm. to see the breadth of that program reaching the community. And we've also already been able to give back. Some of the donors and contributors to the museum, specifically the Leroy Neiman Foundation, is helping us build a fully functioning art studio at the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, that we'll be able to have instruction in there around music and sculpture and painting for those students. And it's really a nice way for, even before we've opened our doors, to really have an impact on the youth and outreach in terms of education initiatives for the community.
So it's much more than just a museum in the traditional sense that most of us grew up thinking of going to a museum. The tentacles are just extensive through the community, and education, I know, is something that's a really important part of what you want to do. Can you talk a little bit about that, Chris?
Sure. I mean, the education is huge. As you know, we've already talked about the YCA program and providing that. It's interesting that the theme here is about resiliency recovery and results. And over a year ago, we were with the Colorado Health Foundation, and we received a grant to develop a program for across the state, and will be developed here with teachers in our community to really teach resiliency. Now, no one back then anticipated COVID and all of that, and so what was really going to be something to really help our students deal with social and emotional learning practices has really come to sort of this pivoting of students having to learn online, and then sort of the mixed sort of classroom that they're having to face coming up with this new school year. There's a lot of uncertainty, so the program's been designed not just around helping students, but helping parents. Parents in this community were thrust into now having to be teacher, monitor, as well as provider. And that's put a heavy tax on a lot of that. So our programs are going to be designed around both the student, the parent, in the support of what we can do. And we'll be launching those this fall.
Well, I know Thursday's opening day.
Yes.
And I know it won't be the grand opening that we had all envisioned, and that will happen in the future. But Chris, from the day we started talking about putting this museum together, we talked about numbers of 350,000 people a year coming to this museum. And for our audience who are small business owners, and just knowing that at the time we're in right now, I guess what I'd like to give is some hope to people that are watching to think about what will this museum mean for not only downtown Colorado Springs, but for our region and the number of people who will come and make this part of their big experience.
There's a number of questions in there that I'll try to unpack as best I can. The first is that we've been very fortunate with this concept of designing what we felt was the most inclusive and accessible museum in the world. That inclusivity was driven in part by us being both the Olympic and Paralympic museum, and our need to want to have the experiences of every person, whether they have an impairment or not, that come into this museum have a parallel experience, that we didn't try to create two different tracks. And so everything we've done was look at how could we accommodate those that may have a physical impairment, those that may have a cognitive impairment like autism, and those that may have a sensory impairment, in terms of sight or hearing, or even the ability to use their hands. And because of that, we developed and worked with technology for RFID, that you can go through the museum in a touchless environment, that you have very minimal contact with any of our exhibits, but you're able to, on your cell phone, be able to pre-program what you want to see as you come in and set your preferences. So as you move from gallery to gallery, things can adjust and adapt to your needs, but still create an ecosystem for all visitors. From that, it really allowed us to pivot nicely. We were not like a business that had been open, and so when March hit, we had the chance to really focus our energies on not how to deal with current operations, but pivot what our future operations were going to be. We worked with you, we worked with other leaders in the state, and even nationally with the NIH and CDC to understand best practices for dealing with this. We developed a safety plan that allows guests to come to the museum and feel safe. Each of our galleries is provided separate air because of the design of this building, so that hourly we can flush out old air and bring in new air. We worked with the county health officials to go through, and even with all of that requirement, and you were saying about the amount of visitors averaging about 1,000 a day, on Saturday we had 800 come in from the soft launch. We were proud to host the construction crews and the subcontractors on the building of this museum and their family. It's always been important to me that those who help build something get the first to experience, and we did that. And we had other friends and family of the museum. And what was probably the most profound point of that day is that we were very pleased on how all of our plans worked. We're able to real-time monitor with the RFD the number of people in galleries, their social distancing, and all of that. But at the end, it was those same young high schoolers that probably never smiled in a museum came running up to me going, Mr. Chris, this is the most amazing place. We're so glad it's here in Colorado Springs. And so those are the things that we hope people will come. You know, you and I talked earlier this week about creating a 2-day pass to allow people that get here to have a couple of days to see the museum, stay the night, hopefully to eat in a restaurant and be able to do that. So we're working with you and the other leaders in the community to develop plans to try to boost not only our good fortune, but to allow those visitors to share good fortune with other businesses.
You know, Chris, we have said that Olympic City, USA, this was going to be the absolute crowning moment for us to be able to lay claim to that. And it's ironic, just yesterday at City Council, I heard Dr. Leon Kelly from El Paso County Public Health, who was asked a question about visitors coming here from out of state and how do we control this. And in essence, Dr. Kelly said, this is probably the safest place in the world, building-wise, to be in because of all the forethought that has gone into it and the types of comments that you were just making about HVAC. So I hope that the listeners will be feel very confident that if you question whether you can recommend coming to visit the Olympic and Paralympic Museum, that you can know that the experience here will be second to none. And safety first, like most businesses claim, but here you've been able to build it in. And we are just grateful that it is finally here. It's ironic that the Olympic Games, are supposed to be going on right now, and yet this museum is honoring the athletes that have made it so special to be part of the Olympic movement. Do you have a favorite, Chris? Is there something here that when people come in for the first time, you don't want them to miss in any way, shape, or form?
We in the museum business, as you often hear me say, are not allowed to have a favorite. But what I think is very special, and you mentioned it, we recognize all 12,174 men and women who have competed as an American athlete in either the Olympic or Paralympic Games. And that regardless of where they're from, we've identified them. We have a digital wall. And it's really about having young kids come in and be inspired, not from somebody that grew up far, far away, but for them to be able to see an Olympian from their home state, maybe their hometown, or maybe even just down the street, that they can be inspired by that and have the opportunity. I think when you look at the stories that we've told, Sarah Hirschland from the USOPC came up with a catchphrase when she first got here called Athletes First. They handed out stickers, and on my sort of computer cover I have that. So every morning when I open that up, I think, how can we make it about athletes first? And I think this museum does that. You hear the stories, the triumphs. You know, the Paralympic experience was something that came sort of midterm when we changed our names after my first year here from just the Olympic Museum to the Olympic and Paralympic Museum. And right after that, we went over to the IPC in Germany to talk about them, to have their input. We've had a lot of input from Paralympic athletes. And it was always about a parallel experience to make sure that we don't overcompensate and do the other. And one of the startling facts is that when you look at our country and that of Australia has a little over 23 million people living in it. We have roughly 21 million Americans who, because of their impairment or disability, could probably qualify the Paralympic Games if they were good in one of the sports. Mm-hmm. And it really sheds the light on how many Americans have a disability that they have to deal with. And our goal here is to be a place of hope, to let those folks come in, to learn some of that resiliency. And we're very proud of how the museum really focuses on them as athletes first. And in terms of where some people see the disability they have, they themselves have looked at it as a strength and a way to have a unique advantage in how they compete in the world. And it's that thinking that while we may have challenges in our own lives, if we could pull from those Paralympic spirits that are out there and really be lifted up by how they have had to overcome it's really a testament. And it's what we want to change the lives in our young kids in the community, to be able to see that and say, how can I be my best through the lives and stories that we tell of Olympic and Paralympic athletes.
Awesome. Part of a museum experience is food and beverage, and getting a chance to enjoy the overall experience. And Chris, I know there's a plaza outside here that goes across to a fabulous pavilion. Can you talk a little bit about what people can expect from a food and beverage standpoint?
Well, as you've also heard me say, we're a museum of hopes and dreams. We're a community museum. We're also a museum that is not just about sports, but it's history, it's culture, it's about science, and it's about the arts, including the culinary arts. So we've been fortunate to identify a chef that comes from a renowned background. He started his career in Beverly Hills at Crustaceous, a restaurant that has a James Beard award-winning chefs, and he's worked for a number of them, and he's bringing his skill set here. We were very fortunate that his family moved to Colorado Springs. That brought him here. But again, it's like this talent from around the world is coming to be part of Colorado Springs. It's this whole unique aspect. It's what attracted me was the people here, the community, the oneness, that we're a city that's on that verge of greatness on a national scale, and so it's nice. So we'll be doing foodie groups, we'll be doing teaching, he'll be doing cuisine from host cities of the games over the years. So it's a nice way to sort of show that impact. We have a wonderful retail experience as well, and so in there it's a continuation of the museum. We've got mannequins that run in place. We have a virtual mirror. In doing it just to sort of have the technology, but given COVID, you don't have to pick up a shirt. You can go see what our apparel looks like on, and then have the staff pull you one from inventory. And then we have a Neimanizer. Leroy Neiman was this great painter, and so people can stand in the retail space and have themselves turn into a Neiman painting with all his wild colors and brush strokes. And so we've created a really engaging, wonderful experience, and so we're very, very pleased of the full package for the visitor.
I as I hear you describe it, it just reminds me, we talked about youth and the importance of youth, and I believe that there is a generation of young people who will grow up in Olympic City, USA. They will have thought that most of their life this museum has been here.
Right.
It's part of where they've come from. And I think that for people who have not been downtown lately, to just see Vermejo Street and see the transition that's happening, and we know that in a matter of probably 2 months there's going to be a pedestrian bridge that goes across the railroad tracks down there. It is changing the front door and the face of Colorado Springs, and I just want to again try to give hope and encouragement to small business people out there who wonder what's going to happen in the future. Are visitors still going to be coming? And I can tell you that they will. We were so well positioned in 2020. The New York Times picked us in December as the 13th most popular destination in the world to come visit. And yes, every destination in the world has taken a left and a right, and yet we have believed that our recovery will happen because of how well positioned we were. And the New York Times recognized this museum as one of the things that was going to lead us and make this a special place. So we do have hope.
Correct.
We really, really do. And I also think, Chris, that when you talk about talent attraction, you and I both moved here from the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. Your chef has moved here with his family to Colorado Springs. And I believe that we are becoming as Chris Jenkins liked to say, a middleweight city fighting above our weight, that we are a city that people were attracted to before this crisis, But now, with the quality of life and the different things that we have here, I hope that people here will just kind of redouble their efforts when they can and understand that come down and see what we've got going here, because it's getting better and better.
It is, and I'd like to add to your last point about better and better. We are opening the museum, in a couple of days, and I like to say we want people to see where we are, not that we're done. We're going to be continuing, and I liken it to the iPhone when it first came out, and people were looking at it and said that piece of technology, and I had a colleague that once said, that's the worst it's ever going to be. It's just going to get better and better and better. For the museum, this is where we are, and we're going to get better and better and better. And it's not what's inside the museum, it's what it brings out in people. What we're going to be able to do through this museum and continue to do is how do we create hopes and dreams. When you look at the iPhone, the ability to shoot your own movies, the accessibility it provided, the way in which it allowed it to be a lifestyle enhancement for you. We hope the museum is a lifestyle enhancement for the people that get to visit here and come back. And it's why, sort of the annual membership is always important to us, because you're not going to be able to get everything in one day. I say that the way in which our content can be delivered, there's 2.5 million different days of which you can experience it. So every day will be like opening day for us, and you can get a different, unique experience that you never would have seen the day before.
Well, Chris, this is very exciting. Thank you for opening the doors for the Better Business Bureau and SBDC and everybody to be able to enjoy this new crown jewel for Olympic City, USA. And I'm really glad you're here. Your vision and how this is now coming to life is terrific. The partnership that we enjoy is important. And thank you and congratulations.
Well, thank you. And it's not just me, it's the whole team. I've been fortunate to have great folks from Colorado Springs as well as great folks from outside who've been helped. We're very proud that we have 12 Olympians and Paralympians that's part of the board or staff that's on board here. And you'll get to meet one of my special ones who was the first to join the team back with me a year ago. So
that's wonderful.
Anyways, great.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Enjoyed talking with you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you, Chris and Doug. Appreciate those phenomenal words, and just really I learned a lot about what you have to offer. Just did not know as well, Doug, that 13th most I guess just really places to visit in the world right now. And I guess with everything that's going on, this is an important fact. And I appreciate what you said too, Chris, about hopes and dreams. I think this is something that's important right now for everybody, not only here in Colorado Springs, but also in the world. And so really what you do have is really a phenomenal place that houses all of these things that have to do with hopes and dreams. And on that note, we're going to talk to somebody that can tell you a little bit more about hopes and dreams and about how sports specifically can unite us. And this is something that we need in these times. And so I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Michelle Farrell, Vice President of Athletic Engagement and the Colorado Chapter President of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Alumni Association. Michelle brings more than 35 years of involvement in the Olympics and Paralympic movements, and she started her Olympics out in 1984 as an Olympic silver medalist in the sports of gymnastics. But I will say no more. Michelle, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today on behalf of the museum. Also, as an Olympic alumni, I've been a resident here for 25 years. My husband and I have raised our daughters here, and so we feel like this is our community, and we're very proud of this moment of the museum being on the verge of opening, of living in Olympic City, USA, and to be proud residents of what we are bringing to the community, not only with the museum, but with the spirit that the Olympic and Paralympic dream brings for everybody. The values of the Olympic movement and Paralympic movement are what have driven me to try to pursue the best that I can in life, whether it be through athletics or my work, being a mother. Those values are excellence, friendship, respect, determination, inspiration, courage, and equality. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey as an athlete, but then also how it relates to what I do with my work, how I engage with my community, and I think what those values can also bring to the city of Colorado Springs in Olympic City, USA. My motto has always been that you don't have to be an Olympic or Paralympic athlete to live the Olympic and Paralympic ideals. Those values that I just listed off are universal. They're not specific to sport. And I think what's really great about living in Olympic City, USA, is that those values can drive us to help grow our businesses, to help be better citizens, to help enhance our community in ways that will make this place and will continue to make the city of Colorado Springs a thriving community. So I'm going to talk about 3 elements in my athletic journey that coincidentally were topics that we discussed several years ago when we were at the very beginning stages of developing kind of the exhibit experience in the museum. So I was part of a group of athletes that were brought together to talk about those Olympic experiences and Paralympic experiences. And there were 3 main themes that came across in those conversations that we had amongst athletes. The first being, what was that moment that ignited our passion to try to pursue being an Olympian or Paralympian? The second was really the experience of what it took to become an Olympic or Paralympic athlete, what we kind of call the grind or the process to go through that training. And, some people like to describe, it's the 10,000 hours of training and preparation to reach that level of excellence. And so what was that 10,000 hours like, the day to day, the week to week, the year to year, which then culminates into that experience that you have when you make an Olympic or Paralympic team and you have that moment of celebration. And probably the most lively part of that discussion in the Olympic and Paralympic experience was the event of opening ceremony and that celebratory moment. But it was more than just the event. It was the process of now realizing that you're a part of something bigger, And so I'll talk a little bit about each of those attributes, but I think they all very much relate to, how we work in our community, what drives our passion, what drives us to be better. But I think there are many, many similarities of what an athlete experiences to what we are doing here in this community to make this community a thriving place. For me, my experience of igniting my passion was sitting and watching Nadia Comaneci score the first perfect 10. It was 1976, the Montreal Games, and I was a young kid, had been doing the sport for a little while, but was completely glued to the television watching Nadia compete. And when she scored that first perfect 10, my own personal moment in watching that was realizing that what she did seemed impossible, but the fact that she accomplished it allowed me to dream, to try to make that my dream as well. And so seeing what she did allowed me to think that what I thought to be impossible was truly achievable. And so I think for anybody who has a passion to pursue, I think it's that, it's that moment of connecting where that passion starts, and it's what's continuing to drive you to pursue excellence. So every athlete that I've talked to has had that moment where it's either sitting in front of a television, meeting a member of the community that has, kind of given them the courage and the fortitude to follow that passion. I think we have so many members in this community who are touch points to that, and I think it's incredible that that this community is certainly embracing that, and that there's the synergy that really happens with, I think, being Olympic City with the museum opening, that we can continue to push that forward. The next part is the focus on the work or the grind, and that process for every athlete is very different. It might be kind of those hurdles that need to be overcome to even starting a sport. For athletes who might not have, a network of support, but have that passion that wants, that continues to take them to the point where they want to pursue their sport. Each athlete has a very, unique journey that is special to them and that has its own kind of textures and context that really culminate into them being the athlete they are when they step onto that stage at the Olympic or Paralympic Games. But I think it's also part of the process of the ups and downs. Every athlete experiences injury or setback. And it's absolutely happening right now across the world with regards to businesses who are, finding struggles. And I think athletes tend to have that kind of resiliency either with what they start with, and it's built from that. And a friend of mine was describing the other night that it's a muscle that you have to build, that you have to condition to try to help to overcome certain hurdles, and that many of us don't expect to be in situations where you have to overcome it, but that resiliency muscle helps us to overcome. For athletes, it's something that they work on continually. And while it's baby steps each day, it culminates into something that can help you overcome big hurdles. And so that was a big topic of conversation when we were talking about kind of the athlete experience and building towards, this museum experience that would be authentic to that. For me, it was overcoming an injury a year before the games that became a blessing in disguise. It allowed me to focus back on some things in my sport that I really needed to work on. And without being able to work on those things, I wouldn't have made the team that following year. And the last one is finding your passion, finding your reason. For me, walking into the opening ceremony was by far the most memorable experience of the games. I was one of the lucky athletes to win a silver medal in the team competition. And so that experience for me, I've got those moments of, memory where I can remember being on the competition floor. But the ones that really stick with me are the ones of the opening ceremony, living in the village, meeting athletes from other countries, kind of the collegial friendship piece of it that is indelible, that lives on today. For athletes, when you go to the opening ceremony, it's a very arduous process. It's a very long day. It's the day from when training is ended to before the competition starts that you almost have, it's a day of semi-rest. But it's a process. You've got to get 10,000 athletes bussed over to a stadium, organized in marching order to be able to walk into the ceremony and then to be seated or situated inside the stadium. Summer games, it's hot outside, and you're on your feet all day. But that moment when you're in the tunnel getting ready to walk into the stadium and you're with your team, and you're not only with your sport team, but you're with the entire Team USA, it's this moment that you realize you're part of something way bigger than yourself. For many athletes, to be focused specifically on what your goal is in terms of performance on the field, you've got to be singularly focused. You've got to block out everything. With the opening ceremony, it's that moment you realize all of that work is part of something way bigger. And I had an experience many years later, well beyond my career, that I believe was my Olympic experience was a build-up to an experience that I had about 10 years ago when I worked with the community of Colorado Springs to help build the first universally accessible playground. My daughter has a physical disability, and I wanted her to enjoy playgrounds just like everybody else. Playgrounds typically are surrounded in sand and have steps, so kids in wheelchairs or with assistive devices can't usually navigate a playground. So I worked with the city of Colorado Springs. We raised enough money to build the first universally accessible playground, Swing High, at Memorial Park. And in that process, I felt that my experience from being an Olympic athlete to that point was all preparation to make that project happen. I think many athletes come away from the Olympic Games with that same sense of giving back and being part of their communities where they can make the world better. And so these three areas of focus were not only discussion topics amongst athletes, but they are absolute footprints within the museum, which you'll see on this virtual tour coming up here shortly. But they are also, again, universal to the human spirit. And I think that I'm extremely proud to be part of this project. I'm proud for visitors to come see an authentic experience, that we have many athletes who are part of this process, that they shared their stories, that they gave of themselves, because every athlete understands and feels that that experience is, while it's very personal, it's got to be shared and it's got to be used for the greater good. And so with that, I thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about my journey. We're excited for you to come to the museum to meet athletes. We've got athletes who will be on staff. So if you do visit, be aware that you're not only getting to take an authentic journey of that process, but that athletes are a part of every part of this experience. So thanks again. Appreciate the opportunity to share this with you. And thanks.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story. And really, as you just described it, that amazing experience that you had as an Olympian. I think that's something that a lot of Americans and people throughout the world dream of, but to have actually experienced it is incredible. And I think you're right. I mean, just this city itself is made up of a lot of different champions, but specifically this organization, as you said, that there are athletes that work here in this building that helped to figure out what the exhibit should look like, what the experience should look like. I think that's fairly incredible. So on to the next piece of our day, and I think this is a piece that a lot of people I know are looking forward to, is getting a look behind the museum, getting a look inside. And again, the museum does not open until this Thursday, the 30th. So you're getting kind of a behind-the-scenes peek at what's going on here. And as I mentioned earlier this morning, it's been just a hive of activity, lots of things, lots of people moving through, VIP tours and experiences, the media. So we're here right in kind of the middle of the action. So we're very, very, very fortunate to be here. Again, a special thank you to Chris Lydell of the Olympic Museum to let us come in here and shoot Small Business Week today. This has just been a phenomenal experience. Ekta and I had the privilege of coming to the museum a couple of weeks ago, and just as we were doing the walkthrough, just looking behind the scenes and seeing what is here, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. I'm not going to tell you the specific things. You're about to see some of that, but you will not be disappointed, and I will leave you with this before we run the video, is that we are very, very fortunate here in Colorado Springs to have this iconic building, this phenomenal museum, and these great people that are working here inside the museum. Something to be proud of for people that live in this city, and I think that we are going to enjoy this museum and the experiences it will have for years to come. So let's go behind the scenes now. You've already met our tour guide, Michelle. Michelle is going to take you on an inside peek behind the curtain of the new United States Olympic Museum, Paralympic Museum. Check it out. Hope you enjoy it.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Ducerre-Farrell. I'm a 1984 Olympic silver medalist in the sport of gymnastics, and welcome to the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum. We're going to give you a really quick, fast tour around the building, and I'm going to point out some highlights. We might miss some things, but here we go. We're going to start with the journey to excellence. This is a quick look at the historical footprint that U.S. athletes made in the Olympic movement, certainly starting with Baron Pierre de Coubertin, who is the founder of the modern games. Next, you'll see our amazing collection of Olympic torches, starting from 1936 and going all the way up to Tokyo 2020. We will then shift to our digital map. Our map is a footprint of every U.S. Olympic and Paralympic athlete that has represented Team USA. type in a name. You can find the origins of that athlete, where their hometown is, where a university affiliation might be. And we want every visitor to see that every athlete comes from all parts of our nation. We're going to look over here into our Paralympic movement case. Paralympics started in 1960, so it's a younger sport entity, but we have a rich history within the U.S. in adaptive sports. Coincidentally, today is Sunday, July 26th, and it marks the 30-year anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So you'll see some of that highlighted in this case as well. We're going to circle around down our ramp. For visitors, we have a completely accessible building that is ramped from top to bottom. So it's amazing that our visitors who have mobility devices, wheelchairs, can actually walk through the entire museum seamlessly without having to leave their party and find elevators or stairs. We're going to walk down this ramp, and this is where the excitement begins. This is our athlete interactive area, and we've got some of our great guest experience staff and team here.
At the highest level, you have to
they are
constantly
top-notch, welcoming every visitor to have a great experience. Here's where you find out how athletes train, what it takes to train and become an Olympic and Paralympic athlete. We have 6 different sport interactives where visitors can try a sport, race against the best top athletes in the nation, and from there you can get some metrics. How did you perform against Carmelita Jeter, Jesse Owens, and Tatiana McFadden? We're going to walk through the center here where we have our different interactives. We have archery, skeleton, skiing, sled hockey here, and last but not least, goalball. So it's a great mix of Olympic and Paralympic sports where you can test your skills and see if your skills match up to our nation's best athletes. Now we're going to walk into the lab. And this is a crossover between basically what athletes bring in their physical presence and training and preparation, but what science and technology can help to aid that preparation process. We've got some great examples of equipment, the evolution of equipment over time, how certain aspects of science have helped athletes both physiologically as well as through technology of equipment development. I think these are some of my favorite artifacts here in terms of shoe technology. This one in particular belongs to Dr. Edwin Moses, and in fact today he is celebrating the anniversary of his gold medal in 1976. All right, get ready for some good high-powered emotion here. We want to kind of take the visitor through the process of learning about the Olympic movement, what it takes to be an Olympic athlete, but probably the most indelible moment for athletes is to walk into the opening ceremony and experiencing that parade of nations. And here we have simulated that experience. So let's go, let's walk in. You know, athletes walk through this tunnel to go into the stadium, and this is what we wanted to create, that emotional, very powerful experience in that. So let's let the games begin. This is our summer sport gallery. This is the largest single gallery in the museum. Some amazing and great artifacts here, but also a place to really kind of learn the A to Z's of Olympic sport and Paralympic sport in the summer games. We've got some great artifacts here. Great images, great video that runs at the top. Last night I was in here. One of our Paralympic athletes, John Register, got to come over and see his prosthetic leg for the first time, which is really cool. I've got an artifact that's kind of near and dear to my heart too. Which is a leotard that I wore in the 1984 games. So that leotard is probably most iconic with Mary Lou Retton, which she was part of that team and obviously won the women's individual all-around. Here you can go to this wall and do a quick search of sports, find out about some historical aspects of the sport as it relates to U.S. athletes, but also find a little bit about the kind of sport in general. This wall is very special. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the boycott of the 1980 Olympic Games in Moscow. This is the only permanent installation that we have for a team in the entire museum. These are all of the names of athletes who made that team and who did not get a chance to compete in Moscow because of the boycott that was enacted by President Carter and the administration. This has great sentimental value. I have personal friends who are on that 80 team that didn't get to compete, and that team is very excited to come and see this part of their history in a permanent place in the museum. All right, we are now going to transition from summer to winter. So, being Colorado in a winter sport hub, we think this is going to be a really popular space in the museum. But before we go into our winter gallery, we're going to give you a sneak peek into what I think is one of the most iconic pieces and artifacts that we have. And it's the 1980 scoreboard from the Miracle on Ice hockey game from Lake Placid. And as you can see, it's illuminated 4-3 U.S., Soviet Union, with 3 seconds left. Does anybody know what that 3 seconds means? What the kind of importance of that 3-second mark is? It's the moment that Al Michaels said, "Do you believe in miracles?" And I don't know about you, but that's an amazing moment that I have etched in my mind. I can remember exactly where I was when that happened. So here we go, Winter Games. Again, the same digital screen, A to Z winter sports. We can, you can learn about both Olympic and Paralympic winter sports, athletes, as well. Again, some great iconic moments. Here's a great artifact. Steve Holcomb's suit that he wore in 2010 when he was the pilot of the night train bobsled, as well as Peggy Fleming's outfit that she wore in Grenoble when she won her gold medal. Again, some great, amazing artifacts that we have on display here. So we had a lot of athletes get together and talk about what were some of those really key moments in the process of becoming an athlete that we all remember. And for many of us, it was sitting in front of a television watching either a sport or a specific athlete achieve great accomplishments. That was all brought to us by television and the media. And we understand and know that media plays a really big role in delivering the games to fans and spectators around the world. This is As the World Watches gallery. Here you have a complete timeline of all Olympic and Paralympic summer and winter games. To again, take about 2.5 to 3 minutes and learn a little bit about each of those games, both in a historical context, social progress, as well as what happened in those games itself. We have a timeline that spans along the wall with some great artifacts. But this exhibit here is pretty special because we have 2 athletes that we did extensive interviews with, and you can ask athletes a question. Here we have Keegan Randall, 2018 gold medalist in cross-country skiing, Matt Scott, multiple-time gold medalist in the sport of wheelchair basketball, and it allows visitors to come up and ask questions to these athletes. and learn a little bit more about them. An amazing artifact display of David Berger, who was an American citizen but competed for the Israeli team in 1972, but was one of the athletes who was killed in the massacre that occurred in the Olympic Village. We're going to round the corner here, and we're going to progress into our rotating gallery. We have a partnership with the Leroy Neiman Foundation, and this is going to be the first of our rotating gallery exhibits. Leroy did some iconic works back in the 70s and 80s, highlighting Olympic sports. He did a lot of works around the 1984 Olympic Games, and these are some of his original works here. But we've also, in partnership, created some additional great opportunities with art that kind of morphs from some of his collections that he put together, but also with our contemporary athletes today. And here we have an actual easel that Leroy used in his studio. So we're nearing the end of our quick tour here. Another iconic artifact collection we have is one of the most complete collections of Olympic medals in the world. Both this collection and the torch collection are owned by Gordy Crawford and his foundation, and they have generously allowed us to put all of these medals on display. These are all actually and authentically awarded medals. So this is a collection that was acquired over many years by Gordy, either through auction or some of these medals are on loan for us as we have this now nearly complete display of medals. So as we get ready to wrap up, the last part of the real kind of formal experience for visitors is our film presented by Xfinity. And so we'll take you in. This is our sort of staging area, kind of a preview video as we get ready to go into the theater for the actual video.
Go down. You gotta get on Raw. Listen to this. She is a 4'8" giant.
So this is our theater. It holds about 150 spectators. We certainly, with social distancing, have fewer with each rotation of the video that we will run. But again, a fantastic video. It's emotive. It's, you leave feeling pumped up and really proud to be part of the United States and Team USA. So. And as you can see, as we walked through, we've walked down ramps through the entire experience. And part of that accessibility feature is not only architecturally designed, but also through the tag that people get when they buy their ticket, so that if you need accommodations with your content, you will actually be able to customize that. So when you go up to a digital screen, you will receive that content in a way that you've determined. Last but not least, a little bit of celebration with medal ceremony. This is kind of a hold area before we go into the retail shop. And as we exit the gift shop, our experience is complete. And thanks for joining me on the really quick tour. We hope you get to come back for a full tour, full experience, and we hope you have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle, for being a phenomenal host. We appreciate the Olympic Museum for letting us have this tour. And hopefully everybody that's watching this right now can see just a little bit of what is going on behind the scenes here. This is a phenomenal space, as you've seen. The amount of technology and the amount of artifacts and exhibits that are in here is absolutely incredible. But I think that most people are going to find that the technology, the videos, the interactive nature of the exhibits is just something that is truly spectacular. So we're very, very, very excited to let you kind of see a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on here. And as I was watching the tour again, I was here a couple of weeks ago, there's new stuff that was up that I didn't get to see. So make sure you come and check it out. Bring your families down here. Again, the grand opening will be on Thursday. So, end of this week, next week, and on, come check it out. You will not be disappointed. This is really, truly a phenomenal organization and a great, great, great addition to our city. You will not be disappointed if you come check this out. So once again, thank you to the staff at the U.S. Olympic Museum, Paralympic Museum. Thank you again to Chris Lydell. I also want to give a shout out to Peter and Tommy. They were the folks that really helped me on a daily basis, getting everything set up and making sure that everything would move smoothly. So thank you to them. Appreciate all the hard work and appreciate everything that's happening here at the museum. So moving on, don't forget to sign up. We have more events coming up tomorrow and for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, we're going to kick off our workshops with our sponsor, Kaiser Permanente, and our partners, 1 Million Cups and the Catalyst Campus. We are going to live stream again, this time from 3E's Comedy Club, and that's going to be quite a treat, quite a show, starting at 9 a.m. We're going to be talking about stress and burnout in turbulent times, and we're going to have a little bit of some comedy in store with everybody as well. Then at 1 o'clock, we're going to be hosting an event with our presenting sponsor, U.S. Bank, for Office Hours with the Banker. Come ready with your questions about the PPP loans, Main Street Lending Program, and other SBA initiatives. You're actually going to be able to speak with the banker, get some good information from them to figure out how you can position your business in these interesting and uncertain times. Register at the Small Business Week Pikes Peak Region Facebook page or Small Business Development Center website. Join us in celebration of small business. Come and check out these phenomenal events that we have, and we want to make sure that we have good information for you, up-to-date information, and so we've got a lot more in store for you this week. So sign up tomorrow. Come check us out. It's going to be great. You're going to have fun. You're going to laugh a little bit when we get the comedian from 3E Comedies Clubs up. You're going to hear some great stuff from our keynote speaker from Kaiser Permanente, making sure that you're staying healthy and well. And so now we want to close this out. We got one more video for you. Want to say thank you to the City of Colorado Springs. We're going to show you a quick video about the beautiful bridge, which Doug mentioned, that's going to connect the museum to the America the Beautiful Park. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.